So, hello guys, this is Unfiltered Opinions, an initiative by Unacademy. My name is Amritesh Grewal and I am in AIIMS. My batch is 2019. My rank was 12th in the AIIMS entrance examination. So, I have some questions with me that the aspirants have been asking for a long time. I'll try to answer these questions to the best of my ability. The first question is, how do you utilize your time as you're preparing from home? So when I'm preparing from home, I focus on the NCRTs more. I try to have a perfect knowledge on what is given in the NCRTs because that is something that you don't want to make a mistake on. If there is something out of syllabus, you can neglect it, but the NCRTs you need to do completely. So I focus on that. I keep away from distractions. Like my main distraction was phone, so I tried to combat it. That I didn't use my phone. So the question is the methods of revision in the last few months. In the last few months, when you have mostly completed your whole syllabus, the revision, the method of revision is different for everyone. What I did was I tried to do active recall. Like uh, like I took one chapter, so I tried to think about what was in that chapter and what were the details and specifics about that chapter and all the data that was given in that chapter. If I didn't remember anything, I read that chapter again and tried to focus on the points that I didn't remember. There is no point reading everything again and again if you don't gain anything from it, or you read the same things again and again. You need to focus on your weaknesses and improve on them. So this was my method. The third question is how to keep away from distractions while preparing at home. So my main distraction was that I used to use my phone a lot and waste my time on YouTube and games and stuff. So my one thing that I found to be useful was I installed an app known as Screen Time. I used an Android phone, so I had to install a third-party app. But in Apple, I think there is an inbuilt app, so that used to help me take into account that in what amount I am wasting my time on the screen. So and it locks itself. It locks that app out when I have completely exhausted my time on that app. So that was a good thing that I found. Uh, if you don't want to do this, you can just give away your phone to your parents and tell them that don't give it to me even if I ask like please take the phone type as it. If you are in hostel, you can ask some of your friends to do that and take your phone. The fourth question is top three tips to make your concept stronger. So to make your concept stronger, one I think is active recall. You should try to think that what you try to find out that what part of the concept you don't understand and you can't recall completely. Second, do is spaced repetition. Like you should repeat a concept after a given period of time, so that it goes into that so that you can recall it better. So for example, you can do a chapter today once, you can revise it tomorrow or day after tomorrow, and then after 1 week or so. So this helps you to recall it much more depth. So uh, those are my tips. And are NCRTs really enough? Yes, NCRTs are really enough if you want to crack NEET, because in NEET, in for example in bio, the NCRTs are almost enough for the complete paper. Like two or three questions will be out of syllabus, but that is very low yield. So if you for those two or three questions, you will have to read in in a lot of depth, and even then it is not sure that you will get the questions will be from what you have read, or they will be something else entirely. So it is better that you read the NCRTs and make yourself perfect in that aspect, because and you should not do any mistake in in the material that comes from NCRTs. Uh, if you do, and sometimes those extra questions are like thinking based, and you can do them even if you haven't read. But if that is not the case, then it is out of syllabus for everyone, and you can think that no one will be able to do. So the sixth question: how should one prepare if they have less time and have to start from scratch? So if that, I think a dropper will be able to tell you better, as I didn't drop. But what I think is you should utilize whatever time you have, and you should keep away from distractions. And in that time, you shouldn't take any pressure. Just uh, just read the chapter, do active recall, and uh, do a certain amount of questions to build up confidence on that. And don't take any pressure, because that doesn't help at all. So seventh question: how to complete backlog and tricks to make short notes for quick revision in bio. So I used to make short notes in some chapters in bio. Like to complete backlog, you should the short notes are an excellent method, because short notes are very easy to revise, and you can complete a chapter in 5 to 10 minutes. So making short notes can be a tedious process, but it pays off in the end, especially in physics and chemistry, because you need to remember the formulas. But in bio also, because in bio, in the chapter, there are certain facts that are rote memorization, that you have to remember. You can't understand those. You have to remember, and everyone does in the end memorize them. So those things you should underline or write somewhere. And the one other thing that I did was I used to uh, make the concept summarized in 1 or 2 lines. That I know that if I read, it will make me remember the whole concept. So that is, you can try that. What I used to do was, either I underlined in my NCRT, or in the space in the NCRT only, I used to write 1 or 2 lines on the page to help me. So I used to highlight the part that has to be memorized, and write 1 or 2 lines on the NCRT itself. Daily schedule for the last 2 or 3 months before NEET exam. So before the NEET exam, what I focused more on was the mock test. I I had I was doing the revision along with it, but I focused mainly on the mock test, because they helped me to understand where I am lacking and what should I focus my revision on. Because in the last 2 or 3 months, you have enough time to hone your weaknesses, but you can't do the whole syllabus in complete depth again. You need to be smart about your work, and you should focus on your weaknesses more. So in the mock test, I used to see which part of the paper I am doing poorly in, and I used to focus on that. Like if I'm not doing one chapter, like in genetics I am lacking, so I used to do genetics more, and I used to do some questions about it, or read the NCRT. Mainly the NCRT I focused on. So that answers it, I think. And ninth question: how to avoid silly mistakes? Silly mistakes was a big problem for me, as is for many aspirants, I think. So for silly mistakes, 2 or 3 things that you can do is: one is you should practice a lot of questions, because practice makes perfect. And if you practice a concept, that it decreases the chances that you make a mistake in it. After a point, it just becomes muscle memory, and you don't make mistakes in it. And second thing, you should focus on your mistakes. That if in a test I made a mistake on some concept, I used to take into account that this concept I made a mistake in this test, and I won't make a mistake in this concept in all the coming tests. So you can one thing you can do is write it down, that this I made a mistake in, and and I don't want to make a mistake in the coming test. Some of my friends did that. I used to highlight on the test itself and uh, revise when I'm revising a chapter. I used to see the tests I did before and see the mistakes I made and made sure that I don't repeat mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, and I also made some mistakes many times. But you can decrease the amount of these if in this way. It's hard to be perfect in this, but you can at least become better. How to make concepts stronger? I think to make concepts stronger, basically you need to read the NCRT thoroughly. You need to do practice questions, and then you should do active recall, as I said, and then you need to repeat the chapter after some time, so that you don't forget it after once you have memorized. How to overcome pressure during exam, even if your preparation from the exam is almost good. To overcome first of all, my NEET result was hampered because I took pressure in NEET, and that so you should take my answer with a pinch of salt, because I did come under pressure in the NEET exam. But in the AIIMS exam, I thought that I will not take pressure and I'll just focus on one question and then the next, and don't think about like that I didn't know this question. Or basically pressure comes from if the time is less, or you don't know many questions in a line, or you this makes you forget the things, and it overall your paper becomes uh, it becomes hampered. So i I came under pressure in the NEET exam, but I not be a very good person to answer this question. So in AIMS, what I did was I just um, gave with a came with a cool mind, and I just focused on one question and then the next, and didn't think about many things. So the 12th question is, how many questions are really very difficult in the NEET paper? In the NEET paper, the number of difficult questions is very few. We'll go subject wise. In the bio paper, I think the number of questions out of NCRT was two or three or four like this. Those you can consider out of syllabus, and so they are difficult. The questions that were actually difficult being in the syllabus, that was very few, like mm, at most 5 or 10. But if you have read the NCRT thoroughly and you have revised it, that part of the paper you should be able to do. In the chemistry part, again, there were three or four questions that were difficult, but one or two questions were some that I did incorrectly also. And but most part of the question paper was from NCRT, and it could have been done. The physics paper was comparatively easy as compared to the previous year papers in my paper, because there were a larger number of theoretical questions and numerical questions were a little less. But the numerical questions were the majority, but they were a little lesser than the theory questions were a little more than the previous years. The 13th question: how to revise the mistakes at regular intervals at which we have done while attempting tests and practicing questions. So for this, I think you can highlight the mistakes on the previous year question, the previous papers that you have done, or you can write them down if you are doing them online or such a thing. But the main gist of this is that you should be able to remember that what you have what concept you have done a mistake in the past, and you should be able to improve on that. So it doesn't matter how you do it, but you need to do this, because uh, repeating a mistake is worse than making the mistake in the first place. So the 14th question is, how to cover the whole syllabus without coaching. So personally, I did coaching. I attended Allen, but if you are not doing coaching, I think you should focus on the NCRT, because uh, the NCRT part is the main resource that you need to do for the NEET paper, and the NCRT is the most important thing. So if you do the NCRT completely, you can crack NEET easily. And I have repeated this many times, so I'll move on. The 15th question is how to develop confidence in physics. So in physics, what I used to do was that I read the chapter from NCRT and my class notes once, and I tried to understand all the concepts. I tried to understand what little theoretical part was in the physics NCRT, but this is a little low priority. You need to focus on the concepts more. And then I used to do questions. I used to do questions from the NCRT, and my modules or previous year questions like this. So that was the main thing. I used to do HC Verma, but HC Verma is a little advanced and for the non-medical part, so I didn't do it completely. I did it in accordance with medical point of view, that what is important for medical and what will never be asked in medical. I didn't do that part. So the 16th question is how to tackle with physics if they are not so good if in it, but it is their favorite subject. So if physics is your favorite subject but you are not good in it, uh, some ways to get good in it are that uh, you so basically you need to memorize all the formulas. That is a basic thing, and then you need to understand all the concepts. What I think is that if you understand the concepts, you don't forget that part, but the formulas that come with them, you can forget. So I used to keep a small copy with all the formulas in it. You can An alternative to this is that you can highlight all the formulas in the NCRT or your notes, or like that. And uh, uh, this is one thing. Then you need to do a lot of questions, because you need to attain a good speed in physics. Then it is just a matter of how you recall it and you repeatedly revise it. But the you need to do a good amount of questions to get confidence in a chapter. If you are weak in some chapter, you need to do that more and give more time to it. That is quite obvious. So how to keep myself confident when I am not performing well in the initial test. So this happened with me also. I didn't perform well in the first test. The second test I did okay, but in the first test I did not do so well. So I was a little saddened by this, but I didn't lose confidence. I thought that if I once thought that I want to crack medical, then I should not be disheartened and I should continue it. So if you are ever saddened or you are depressed, then you should focus on the basics and you should focus on NCRT, and then you should build on that. If you get depressed, just clear your mind and focus on the NCRT, and then build on that by doing questions, and you will see that your concepts become clear easily after that. And in the and one other aspect to this is that you should not come under pressure, and you should give the paper with a clear mind. You should One other thing is that the papers that you do, the mock tests that you do, you should do them in an exam environment, because if you do these casually, and once you go in the main exam, you will come under pressure and you will not be able to do it at the same speed that you do at home. So if you do in an exam environment in a time bound manner at home, you will see that in the exam you are much more cool and calm, and you are able to do it better. 18th question is how should one make sure to maintain consistency throughout these 2 years, and how should one remain effectively focused? To maintain consistency, you should keep giving tests after certain period of time, and you should set small goals. So like I used to do that. I made a goal that in this test this syllabus is coming and I am going to complete this syllabus completely till that test. So basically, you need what you need to do is you need to set small goals and make sure you achieve them. If you don't achieve one, you shouldn't be completely depressed, but you should work harder to achieve that goal. And so you should focus on that more. So, but basically, it is about setting smaller and smaller goals and dividing the syllabus into smaller and smaller parts that can be covered easily. If you look at the syllabus as a whole, like this is 2 years that I have to study, it seems a little daunting that I have to study for 2 years, this many hours every day. That is a little daunting. But if you think about it as one day I have to study this much, I have to cover these chapters, it becomes much more easy. So the 19th question is: are there any hacks to clear NEET, NEET or AIIMS? There are not hacks per se. You need to work hard. There is no shortcut to that. But there are certain things that are important for NEET and certain things that are important for AIIMS. Like in the AIIMS exams, the physics part is relatively difficult and the questions are a bit longer. In the NEET part, the questions in the physics part are a bit smaller, and the percentage of the bio part is much more than in the AIIMS exam. So bio becomes that much more important for NEET than for AIIMS. In AIIMS, the paper included the session reasoning type of question, so you need to focus on that also. That in itself is absent in the NEET paper. So there are certain differences in the NEET and AIIMS paper. You need to focus on that, but as such, there is no hack. You have to work hard. So the last question is, what's your favorite subject and why? So my favorite subject was physics. I like to do that, and I like to do the problem. I had a problem solving point of view in physics, and I like to do the questions in physics. I like chemistry and bio, but physics was always my favorite. So, okay, so these were all the questions by the aspirants. If you have any more questions, you can put these in the comment section below and I will try to answer them.